Right, so let's talk about the break statement in Python. So it's also possible to break out of a for loop completely using the break statement. If we replace continue with break, we won't get a reminder to buy bread or rice because the loop will terminate when it gets to spam. So what I'm going to do is delete this commented code out completely from the previous video. And then we're going to change continue to break. Firstly, let's run it. And you can see what happened there. Basically, we saw the output milk, pasta and eggs, but after we executed break, we didn't get a reminder to buy bread or rice, and that's because the loop terminated when it got to the break statement on line 5, when it got to spam. So break can be very useful. Imagine we're searching through a list containing thousands of items. If we find the item we're looking for, there's no point looking through the rest of the list. You generally stop looking when you find what you've looked for. So what I'm going to do now is copy the first line, line 1 here, and we're going to create a new file called searching. Okay, and paste that line back in. Alright, so let's use a for loop to search for an item. We're going to start with a couple of variables. So on line 3 I'm going to type item underscore to underscore find equals spam in double quotes. And on the next line, found underscore at is equal to none, noting that it starts with a capital N. So we're going to search for spam, and I've bound the variable item defined in the string value that we're looking for. That's on line 3. If we find it, we want to know its position in the list. We're going to store that in the variable found at, or found underscore at. Now I've initialized that to none on line 4. And none is a constant that's used to show that something doesn't have a value, so it's roughly equivalent to null in C or Java. Now I'm going to come back to that line because new programmers might be wondering why we've attached a variable to something that doesn't have a value. It doesn't seem like a very useful thing to do. Well, it actually is useful. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise, but it'll be easier to show why it's useful when we see our code working. Alright, so now what we need to do is write our for loop. I'm going to write this one slightly differently. What we're going to do is loop over the index positions of the list instead of looping over the items. So to do that, on line 6 I'm going to type for index in range, left parentheses len, left parentheses again, shopping underscore list, and then we've got the two right parentheses and a colon. And on line 7, if shopping underscore list, then in square brackets index, and then closing right square bracket, that's equal to, two equal signs, item underscore to underscore find, colon, found at is equal to index. Okay, so there's our code. So I've used a new function there, the len function. Len is short for length and lets us know how many items are in the sequence. Our shopping list contains 6 items, so len, left parentheses, shopping underscore list, right parentheses on line 6, that's going to return the value 6. So that means index, therefore, will get the values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Remember that the last value in the range isn't included. So indexing a list is exactly the same as indexing a string, and we covered that in the last section. The item at index position 0 is milk, the item at position 1 is pasta, eggs is at position 2, and so on. If we find the item we're looking for, which is the test on line 7, we store its position in the variable found underscore at on line 8. When the loop terminates, the value of found underscore at will either still be null, as we defined it originally on line 4, if we didn't find the item we want, or it will be in the index position of the item in the list, which was set on line 8. Alright, so the last bit of code now we need to add is to print out what we found. So let's do that. Just as a reminder here, I'm going to put a comment on line 6. This is what effectively is happening here. That line 7, that's the len shopping list returns 6. And that's why it's equivalent to what I've typed there if we weren't using the len function. Alright, so on line 11 then, I'm going to type print, parentheses, double quotes, item found at position, and left and right curly braces, dot format, and in parentheses found underscore at, and then we'll get our closing right parentheses. If we run the program, you can see it says item found at position 3, and that's correct. Spam is the 4th item in the list at index position 3, and obviously the count starts from 0. Now I don't think I need to step through the for loop from the beginning, but do that if you want to see going around from the start. What I'm going to do is set a breakpoint on line 9 where we assign the index number to our found at variable. If we run the code in the debugger, and you can see index is set to the value of 3, and we've found the item we're looking for. Found underscore at is currently still none. When I step over, you can see that 3 has now been assigned to found underscore at, and that's good. Our program's working and has found spam in the list. What's not so good is what happens next. We've found what we're looking for and there's no point continuing to search, but when I step over again, which I'll do now, we can see that the code's still searching. I have to continually step over here to let it finish its work. And eventually you can see the program's now completed. So this is where break can be useful. What we're going to do is add a break after line 9. Indented to the same level as you can see there. So if we repeat the test, I'm going to debug it again. Found out it currently is set to none. If I step over, found out it's now 3. When we're ready to execute the break statement, a break causes Python to jump out of the loop. So when I step over now, you can see the execution has gone straight to line 12. That's more efficient because we don't keep going around the loop after finding the item we want. I'll step over one more time. And that's terminated the program, as you can see. So that's the break statement. If you need to jump out of a loop, that's how to do it. We'll be using break in some other examples later in the course. I'll stop the video here, and in the next one, we'll look at what happens when the item we want isn't in the list. See you in the next video.